Start the recording, and this is a Wisdom Factory blab.
Yes, it certainly is.
We have left a little bit Google Plus. No, we haven't left. We still do it, but we do more informal blabs here. Mm-hmm. And today we want to talk about imagination, and this is one of the big topics of Lorenz. Yes. Hello, Lorenz. Mm-hmm. And we have Margherita. Yeah. I feel like in family here. It's wonderful. And we have an open seat, so who wants to join the family is very, very, very welcome.
And Margherita, like us, is kind of all wrapped up because we are in the northern latitudes already.
Yeah, tomorrow, day after tomorrow is October, so it's going out. The summer is finished.
Yep. And no fire yet, but...
And so close. We imagine that soon there will be the fire and the furnace.
Yes, and that will shape our future.
This will shape our future.
I'm not sure that's what he meant.
Yeah, but I think... Remember, I think to remember that Lorenz said once that imagination goes toward the future.
Oh, it does.
And without imagination, the future is sort of very uncertain what will come out of it.
It's without direction.
Mm-hmm. Tom Hanna used another word, expectation.
Mm. Expectation for imagination?
Yeah. It was one of his key observations. Mm-hmm. That expectation shapes how things develop. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. A chapter in the book Somatics, the role of expectation.
Mm-hmm. Because we have to say, for who is watching, Lorenz is the somatics guy and the release guy.
And the somatics release guy.
And the somatics release guy. And your guru is Hanna.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Tom Hanna was one of my major teachers. I've had several over the decades. And he was the most recent. 1990, which is not recent anymore. It's 25 years ago.
Oh, wow, really?
You know, you're getting old when you think in terms of 20-year units.
Yeah.
And I think he nailed it when he said the role of expectation. Expectation and imagination obviously go together.
Go together, but they are not the same, are they?
No, they're not the same. Expectation implies a future orientation, and imagination is actually all directional, timeless, or no specific time direction. You can imagine the past, even if you hadn't experienced it. We could imagine the Revolutionary War of the United States, for example, even though we were not present. So imagination has no direction, expectation does.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I imagine that you tell the little bird we would like to have people.
I've done that.
You have done that?
Oh, I have done that. I did it.
Margherita, I see. Okay. Yeah, I think it's a very interesting thing with imagination. We normally, how do you say, combine the word with artists.
With what?
Artists.
Oh, associate the word with artists.
Yeah.
Creative people.
Okay. Maybe with you, I know.
With Margherita, way out of course.
On the right or left side, can't keep track of the right and the left side.
Let me explain how. You got your right and you got your left. And you take away your left, right is left, right?
That is my right and which is my left. I can never keep track of it.
Oh, okay.
And then when you look in the mirror, it's even worse.
It's horrible. It's like creative people are sort of not integrated in the logical mind too much.
Oh, come on. You have studied mathematics.
That's why I studied math.
Yeah, to learn that.
Control my brain. Now we're going to focus on like science and words and you know. these kind of things.
Music is a mathematical construct. Everything is notes or notations, musical notes. That's short for notations of timing and position on the octave.
Well,
So
I
it's
think
very
math is
structural.
the underlying foundation for a universe. It has the structure.
Yeah,
It really is. And if Scott would be here, he's doing these fractal pictures, right? That's math too.
yeah, math. Fractals is major math.
There is somebody in the audience. I think his name is Paul. Also, it doesn't say. It says the ascended. I cannot read. I need
The ascended
glasses.
one.
Yeah, you have glasses. So I just sent you. Thank you. Yeah, you are so too strong. I sent him a message. To come on. Oh, come on.
Yeah,
He says imagination is only half the journey.
Anyway,
And I'll
And
drink
then-
to that.
I'm not plugged in.
He says imagination is only beneficial if there are actions towards them. Creative people have this quirky ability.
I resemble that remark.
So tell us more about imagination and what do you think about that?
Who, me?
Yes, you.
Okay. We'll start with a brief little exercise. Oh, by the way, there's an open seat. Somebody come in.
Yeah.
Here's
yeah.
a little exercise. I'm going to show you something about imagination. Just right now, choose arbitrarily to imagine something. Okay, now, same object. Put your attention on it. Remember it. And now have an intention toward it or about it.
Okay.
What happened to your ability to imagine it?
See it right away.
Oh,
Get inside.
yes.
So
It's
if
like-
you
Boom.
So you've got 4 points on the tetraseed. We're using imagination as our focus, but if we do attention, intention, and memory, it focuses right like a radar dish on imagination, and the imagined thing gets much more vivid than if you just try to imagine it without doing attention, intention, and memory.
Yeah, this is true.
Okay.
The tree, I imagine, the apple tree, had some apples on.
Funny, I was thinking about imagining an apple.
Well,
This is non-local consciousness.
It could be.
I was imagining a 1954 red Corvette.
Oh, I see. Was it in cherry condition?
Oh, absolutely.
All right, then.
Is that tetraseed looking like this?
Yes.
Yes.
The basic
Yeah.
basic tetrahedron, minimum structure of existence, 4 points.
Yes.
And you can turn it around like
Yep.
you want. And
Yep.
what is on top, the focus point is supported by the others.
I always wondered why pyramids had a rectangular base. They should have had a triangular base, and then they'd be a tetrahedron.
Well, it turns out that you can combine tetrahedra,
To a pyramid.
yeah, or to an octahedron, which is a pyramid with a double point
Yeah.
and a common base. Bucky Fuller showed all this stuff. I think it was in his book Synergetics. And he went into detail. He even explained the structure of quarks geometrically. And he showed that if you do the geometry, the geometrical substructures, the number of possible substructures is exactly the same number as the number of quarks that have been identified, and that they fit together to create larger order particles that correspond to the higher order particles. He had it nailed. So what Margherita was saying about geometry or mathematics being the substrate of existence, that's exactly what Bucky Fuller showed.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember to have seen one video of him, but I don't think we are very aware of his existence in Europe.
Well,
At least not in my school.
well,
or
we
in
know
my,
for the geodesic dome, etc.
yeah, but not so
Well, Bucky
famous.
Fuller has not gotten a lot of play because of the usual reason. The entrenched authorities would have to learn and become students all over again of Buckminster Fuller and thereby lose their authoritative status. You see? So that's why advances get slowed down.
Well, you can't be a student after you have a PhD. I mean, really.
What about people with multiple PhDs?
I'm not one of.
Lucky agrees.
Do you have a PhD, Lawrence?
No, I have a PhD. It's pronounced.
You have a creative mind too.
I have.
You have a creative mind too.
I think so.
Yes, that's awesome. Love that.
I spent a number of years in service to a certain artist who founded what he called the Institute for Creative Origination. And one of the central created features of the Institute was a diagram called the creative spiral. And the creative spiral outlines, well, no, it's not. Well, yeah, that's a helix, actually. A spiral is something that starts on the outside and ends up as a tiny point on the inside. Spirals are two-dimensional.
Yeah, this is two-dimensional, one-dimensional, zero, right?
Right.
It's the same thing. Anyway,
so he did an extensive creative body of work, the purpose of which was for people to tap their creative ability. So he created tools for people getting creative. But like Bucky Fuller, he's hardly known. Very few people are familiar with him. I was part of the inner circle. I was assisting directly with the creative work. But it was an interesting thing because he did in large scale what I had started to do when I was a child that got me in about the worst trouble possible. Piano lessons. I was at age 8 and my mother had bought a piano, and it's called the action, the mechanics that connect the keys to the hammers that strike the strings needed adjustment. So they pulled the action, it was gone, and I was sticking my hands under and playing the strings like Harpo, playing the harp. And I liked making harmonies, and she decided I needed piano lessons. And
so you are very creative.
And I used to improvise, and then of course the piano lessons was a pretty much of a disaster in terms of my enjoyment of the instrument. But
this happens so often. This happens so often that the natural musicality with sort of traditional teaching, music teaching goes
really
away.
Just stultifying.
Yeah.
And when I was about age 14 or 15, I escaped piano lessons by accepting violin lessons. And I'll tell you 2 stories about my relationship to violin lessons. On one occasion, I had just finished a session of practice and I threw the bow down on my bed. It landed flat and snapped. Well, that didn't do too well with my mother's opinion. So we got a new bow. And on another practicing occasion, the neck snapped off the body of the violin. Talk about morphic fields. So I ended up quitting the violin also. And then some years later, I used to tool around on the piano at a certain drop-in center formed for teenagers. And then finally it was around 1990. Yeah, I had inherited some money and I bought my first synthesizer, which is actually what you can see in my camera there. They're the synthesizers. And I've created a fair body of work so far on synthesizer, all original works. Oh, my camera did something original. Let's go. Stay there. So I've recorded a fair amount of work, and I'm making the point here. I serve this artist, oh goodness, for
your camera.
a large body of his work were created on a modified electronic concert organ, recorded keyboard to tape in one take. And he did over 2,000, over 2,000.
Are you under the weather today, Lawrence?
No, he wants to become invisible.
Oh, you want to become invisible.
Give the man a cookie.
Yeah.
Use duct tape.
So I assisted him at the side of the organ while both feet and both hands were occupied. I would do stop changes on command. And I didn't know where the stops were. You know, where's the diapason stop? You know, all that business. But the point was, I was in his company assisting for some time. And he was doing on a much larger scale what I had started at age 8. So when I got my synthesizer, I started doing creative works of that type. Keyboard to recording directly. And in fact, I've got a number of them on my website now that are free for the listening. And I titled them Gateways into Different Dreaming because of the effects they have on the listener and also on me. I had one occasion where I was listening to one of my pieces and I went into an altered state listening, and I had a dream of sorts in which I was on this road and I was passing by a storefront with glass storefront and motorcycles all parked in front in a row. And then I went on a trip to, this is Santa Cruz, California, and I was going to the wharf, which is next to the amusement park boardwalk. And as I drove by, there it was. It was with the motorcycles, and everything was exactly the same. So for what it's worth, creative.
So imagination can create our future. First, it can create us to be creative, as you said. Going away from the violin because the violin told you that it didn't want to be played by you.
Yes, it was non-violins. I was non-violins.
Yeah. And then you created your future by obeying to that, and it's good.
I had a number of weird things like that happen.
Yeah, tell me more.
Well, okay. There was another occasion in which I was seated in an airliner, and I was looking through the window, and I saw these on the ground. We were at a low altitude, and all these pink buildings. And of course, I'd never seen anything like that before. But it turned out that this is a time when I was at university. This was before I was trained in 1990 in somatics. And I decided during spring break to go to Cabo San Lucas. And flying down there, I looked out the window, and there they were, those pink buildings.
This is amazing, isn't it? So, did you create with your imagination the pink buildings?
Well, if you believe that a dream is you creating with imagination, then the answer would be yes. I mean, I didn't deliberately do so. I just had this, I don't know if it was a dream at night sleeping or a dream, again, listening to some of the music I'd created, but it was a distinct event, and it was unmistakable when I saw the buildings outside the airliner window that it was exactly what I had seen already.
Mm-hmm. So we are talking about dreams, the different types of dreams. Yeah. Some are imagination, some are something else. Mm. Now, Jung has done quite a bit, and I think Freud too. I'm not so familiar with Freud, but quite a categorization of different types of dreams. But let's do imagination without dream. Can I, by insisting on imagining something, can I create the future which I would like to?
Well, that's the promise of all these adherents of the secret and law of attraction. Mm-hmm.
sells a lot of books.
Yeah, I think that there's something to it, but I don't think it's as simple as they put it.
Mm-hmm.
There's someone who says if you can imagine it, you can create it. Might have been Martin Shervington.
Mm-hmm.
Or
The
he
thing
quoted
is,
somebody.
if you cannot imagine it, it is very difficult that you create it. So the opposite is true for sure.
Yeah.
But the other way, maybe. I think imagination is a necessary condition, but not a sufficient condition, no, to create the future.
Yeah. I'd
And
say
it's just okay. Go ahead.
I'd say the imagination is a pointer to a kind of an experience. It's at least a pointer toward it. And it organizes us to be receptive to that kind of experience.
Mm-hmm. So when something comes by which fits into that, we are able to see it instead of letting it pass.
That's true also. I had a thing about a motorcycle once. I had done certain processing to get myself a motorcycle. I was living again in Santa Cruz at the time, and I was taking a walk to the boardwalk one morning, and as I passed by this place, there was a motorcycle sitting right out there with a sign that said $400. And I said, uh-huh. Then I thought, do I want to spend the $400? I said no, so I didn't buy the motorcycle, but it was there. I think that it certainly makes us receptive to observing it if it shows up. There's also what some call the parking space phenomenon.
I'm good in that. We are good in that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, you can intend a parking space, and then bazunk, it's there. You arrange one right in front of the doorway, that type of thing.
Well,
but again,
of course
I think they're the factors.
Yeah. We have to give the universe enough time to create a space for us. It's got to move some cars around, so our space will be available by the time we get there.
Which may involve slowing you down arriving.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
could be.
Okay, can be.
Yeah.
But sometimes we forget it, and going just only around the corner, then we say, oh, this is too much for the poor universe that it has to.
Sometimes we have to.
Sorry for the universe. We're inflicting demands upon it. I want a parking space. The universe going,
Well,
but okay.
I had an example of the wrong kind of imagination today.
Do tell.
Which you know about, but didn't probably recognize it as such. Well, I once again spent an hour on chat with Tex for my Windows 10 experience, which required distinct and professional and exacting help in order to get the machine usable again. And I was happily typing away afterwards, feeling great about having done everything they said and working together. And I couldn't write into any boxes. It would not print. I couldn't enter an address by hand. I couldn't sign in by typing in my username or anything. And so I just put it away. Damn thing. Yeah. Crap.
Okay.
And went on to use my Chromebook instead. And a couple hours later, I mentioned to Heidi that the Windows 10 had failed me again. And she said, just reboot. Which I did.
You were blocked in the imagination it was wrong again.
I always think of rebooting when something goes wrong. That's an initial reaction.
Not this time.
But not this time. I was locked into this damn Windows 10 is a bunch of crap. I thought it'd be released from the horrors of Windows 8. And so I didn't see the opportunity. I didn't respond.
Yeah, because we get so fixed in our belief systems that this is again and again and again. You know, he passed the whole day with this guy on chat the other day, some days ago.
It was over now.
It was hours he was with this problem. And then when it appears again, you think, bah, again, you know. That is so, it creates our future, because you are disappointed, you are angry, you are, I don't know what. And instead of trying out, making the reality check. Okay.
Well, I think it's a good idea to walk away, not too far into the frustration zone. This is something I've had to learn, because like you, I've tended to want to persist and insist on the solution.
Sure.
And sometimes we need to disengage so that there's space for something new to come in, a new idea, or as to what we might do, which is completely shut out if we're monomaniacally fixated on the problem.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
And this happens so often. I realize that if something happens or doesn't happen, for instance, when the dog doesn't come home, which we had lately and so on, then it's very easy that you begin to imagine what could happen. All disaster scenarios which are available, and I'm really good in inventing new ones. You know, when the first one,
he is.
when the first one is, and I tell myself, no, it's all right, and then it's a little moment, and then there comes the next one. But if this and if this and if this, I don't know if it can create the future, but I'm sure that at least it creates your day miserable. Maybe I don't know if it can bring back the dog, or no, I don't think so. But maybe another. I tried that out, by the way, to send out talk with animals and tell them come home now. And I have some who are really good in this. Lucky, the doggy is. We have to train it a little bit. But kitties, the very preferred cat I had who died last year, with him was that. It was really, and the only time when it didn't work, it was when he was half dead, you know, when he was hiding for going.
Yeah. But we have one other cat who usually will do what we ask her to without words.
Yeah, without words. Without words is working even better. Is this then imagination when we say something without words?
Yes. Well, it's more than just imagination. It's imagination plus intent.
Sure.
Yeah.
Plus attention.
Because imagination for me, when I hear it, it sounds like image. It sounds like something visual. No?
Sure.
What exactly is imagination?
Well, that's a problem with the term. It does imply visuality, and there's no corresponding term for hearing. So emergence is the closest I can come up with, that it covers all the senses, all possibility. Something emerging into existence.
And it's a very handy word.
Yeah, it's true. You can imagine a melody, but you wouldn't see it. Yeah, maybe you see it even written. But I would hear it then somewhere inside. Yeah, it's true. There is no word for hearing and not for smelling. It's all imagining. But it comes from the word image, no?
Well,
it would seem.
There are images which aren't visual. That's true.
Okay, well, it depends on the definition. I see somebody else has come in, Frederick, and there was Corey and Diana. Would you like to come in? It would be so much nicer to talk with other people.
2 seats, folks.
Take a seat.
Yeah.
We get 2 more people, we can start a bridge game.
Are you able? Can you imagine what will be when you give out the card, how the others will?
Yeah, maybe it's not such a good idea.
Yeah, I cannot imagine that.
That would be tricky, yes.
Yeah,
indeed.
I'm not really good in that, but there are other ways I can imagine. So you were saying about imagination alone. When you only imagine something, it's relatively poor.
Well, it depends on how we habitually imagine. Most people imagine just by trying to, in effect, daydream something into existence, but they may not be firing on all four cylinders. They may be weak on intent. They may be weak on the memory foundation for what they're wanting to imagine. If I say imagine an apple, you resort to your memory of all apples in your experience.
Sure.
They may be weak in imagination. In memory. And they may be weak in their attention. Their attention may be distracted, scattered, not coherent. Cultivating coherent attention is kind of a big deal, especially in these times when the mass media are bent upon breaking the steadiness of attention as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
You want to look at the opposite. Look at Hitchcock's films where he did one single take. I think it was the movie Rope. They never stopped the camera.
Fantastic. Riveting.
Right? I think there's a current film where they've done a similar, or it's coming out. This one is a rather bizarre film. It's not like Hitchcock, which was, it was all plausible, even if the stories were bizarre. But the point being that the older films had much longer takes.
Sure.
And so the music of the earlier times had much more continuity. If you listen to some of Beethoven's symphonic compositions, I can hear it. I think of the ninth and the fifth. There were long movements where the melody lines were very long melody lines. Tremendous continuity. Not like 4 beats and then a new phrase in today's music, which is really chopped up and trivialized. So attention is not well developed in these times. So how good can the imagination be? So people are misfiring in their efforts to imagine because they don't have all 4 cylinders firing well or tuned.
So when we are not able to focus on something for long enough time, the imagination will be too weak to create anything.
Yes.
And we forget it. The memory is, you said in another moment that the longer the repetition creates a memory, and when you hardly can focus on it, the memory is nothing. Yeah.
So you're not likely to remember to imagine it.
Yeah. Can I do a strange deduction of that we are not supposed to remember and to imagine? Is this a sort of modern slavery that we are distracted all the time and taken away from our attention?
It's plausible.
Yeah.
It could be a diabolical plot by the powers that be to keep
bread and circuses. Yes, the modern version.
Yeah, bread and circuses. Yeah, or the more modern. I think it was Marx. That religion is the opiate of the masses.
Yes.
Yeah. In this case, it's not the religion, but the social media and devices, computers, like we are doing, and mobile phones and things, where all the
Facebook
time plops up something. Here is somebody whose name here is Jill Cruz.
Cruz, probably.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you write how your real name is. And you say, wow.
Hi.
Yeah. Okay. Hi. He is believing that being busy all the time is,
I believe that. Being busy all the time
is distracting. It keeps you from gathering your own power of attention and intention if you're always dealing with issues. If you look at how computers operate, they're very rude. They always send up these intrusive windows, these messages from here and there, right? They haven't gotten sophisticated about attention at all. in the way they manage software notifications.
Oh, you have you can regulate that. But I realize that it is also, you enter into a sort of mindset that you fear to miss something, you know,
Yeah.
and so you, and this one, and that, and this, and this, and then comes the bad conscience, or I should do much more, all these things, you know, this person said, this is so important. And if you want to reach this, you have to do this. But everybody has another idea and you think, oh, they are right. But how can I do everything? And then you cannot imagine your own goals anymore. At least a little bit, to me, it happens.
Oh, yeah. Instead, your goals are to read all 104 emails, or to at least check them out.
For instance, the goal would be to read a book instead of all these emails, and do all this. Yeah.
But you might miss something.
It is coming. Love, freedom, and life. This is lovely.
There was a book written decades ago by Alvin Toffler.
Oh, hello.
Hello. Ciao.
How do you pronounce your name?
Jelcru.
Gel, just gel. Okay. I was trying to make it more complicated.
So let us welcome her first before you go on, Lawrence. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, everybody. And I'm glad that you guys were talking about this. I was just really intrigued with what you were saying. And this is the first time I'm joining you guys. So hello, everybody. When you said about you know, the imagination, like every time we focus more into it, that it becomes reality. Like, I'm so intrigued by that, because maybe that's what I really need to do. I've been struggling to focus, and I'm just so scatterbrained all the time, especially with social media, and it's eating up a lot of my time. And I don't think that's a wise thing to do, but we tend to keep doing it. I don't know why. It's like we're just drawn to it, you know? So, yeah, I guess that was my question, if that was okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good question.
It's a very good question, because sometimes I ask myself too.
Sure. That's a pretty common.
Yeah. What do we really want to achieve with that? At the moment, I love to talk and to talk with Lawrence about these topics, which normally we talk in private. And why not in public? And, you know, and if somebody like you come in and say your part, this is really, really nice.
Yeah.
So we are able to connect with more people, with other people, and not only cook our soup in our own pot.
Stew in our own juices.
Exactly.
Okay.
You want to say something, Lawrence? I thought you were going to say something earlier.
I am. Yeah, with regard to this, the social media, this endless distraction is a weakness of intention. If we intend to get something done, we don't get distracted by things. If our intention is faltering, if it's weak, then we're much more vulnerable to random distractions.
Yeah. So how could we
strengthen
the intention?
Well, okay. We did the thing with imagination. Remember, we had 4 points. 4 points. How do I aim this so you can see it? 4 points.
That's
now if we just
put another finger in there.
So if we want to strengthen intention, then you bring in attention, imagination, and memory. You put your attention on something, you deliberately imagine and remember what you imagined. And that combination immediately strengthens intention.
I have a question on that too, because sometimes I have a hard time remembering things, and it's really different. But a lot of times I would remember other things that normally other people won't remember. I mean, yeah, like it's just weird. Like, I don't understand how that works. I would remember certain things, and some things I would, and it's not like I select it, you know. I would love to, you know, continue on with my imagination and focus, but it's really, I feel like it's tough for me. Maybe you have some insight for that, like, and maybe for other people too.
Well, there are these two little procedures. One's called the wish-fulfilling gem, and the other is called the spell maker. And both of them are ways of using those basic faculties that I've been mentioning: attention, intention, memory, and imagination. They're in structured ways. And you can use those to either get something into focus or to dissolve the distractions that are blocking your focus.
The thing is with your procedures, and he's really good in doing these things, is that you have to have the intention to do it and then really do it and keep doing it. Because sometimes I find myself, I begin with it, and then, oh, where was I?
It's so easy to get distracted in the middle.
Yeah.
Or just to forget what's next.
Here's Paul, who says, if I can understand it, I normally find it easier to remember.
Right.
And there is another thing studies have shown: when you experience something in an emotional state, in a higher emotions, then it's easier. It may be emotions of every type, but more than the medium. And then you will remember it much more easily than when there is no emotion around. So sitting over the books and trying to understand with no emotion, maybe anger. When you are angry enough, you will remember.
That's true. Yeah. I don't know. It didn't work with my neuroanatomy course.
Okay. Yeah.
So you said the 4 things. Can you repeat that again? I'm taking notes.
Sure.
Okay.
So every living thing has these 4 subcomponents of intelligence, and those are attention, intention, memory, and imagination, which can also be called emergence, newness. And all 4 are active at every moment of conscious existence. And all 4 make it possible for us to interact with anything. If any one of those is missing, impossible to interact, impossible to have a perception. So there are ways of using those 4 components of intelligence to accomplish specific things. You can use it in service to imagination, to imagining things. You can use it in service to remembering things, to accomplishing things, or to getting a clear perception of things. Now, there's an easy way of going about this in terms of making use of that information. There are blog pages that I've put up that have all of that information on them, and there are interactive courses that I deliver with the assistance of Heidi and Mark through the Wisdom Factory, in which we teach people how to use these faculties of their own intelligence more and more effectively, and to lighten the load of all the burdensomeness of life by those same means. They're procedures. And it just cleans up your own intelligence. It makes it more available to you, makes you more creative with less effort. We started out talking about imagination here because that's the topic of our conversation.
Yeah.
So here was another comment. Sometimes.
Oh, shall I read this?
During the journey of.
Sometimes during the journey of perusing something, I think sometimes when perusing something, I realize I am perusing the wrong thing and realize what I should be perusing, but it requires refocusing and reimagining. Well, it's kind of wandering off, which is what we do if our intention is not strong.
Yeah. I was always called that I go with the head through the wall. That was what they told me in childhood, because I wanted to do what I wanted and not what the brothers wanted, or my mother or my father. And I tried to be good, but obviously I didn't make it so well. So I should have quite a trained intention, and probably I have.
You do.
But still, I find myself a little bit, it's a social media thing. That's for me totally new. I'm there on Google Plus mainly since a year and 3 months, and I'm fully dived in. And, I got into this, and I haven't posted that, and I should post that, and then I should thank you for that, and nobody comes to nobody has plussed my post, and all these things which are, yeah.
I invited 450 and 7 showed up. Yeah.
Yeah, 7 is already good.
That's
no?
good. I took 7, actually.
Yeah. Paul, come in. We could have a 4 discussion. There's somebody else too.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to write down, so it is in the comments. We will have a free webinar next Wednesday, tomorrow in a week. No? Lawrence, where you talk about the procedures and makes them more clear what they are for, how they are working. Today, as a topic, I had taken out only imagination, but as we see, what he teaches and what I have understood, no one goes alone. So there are always all 4 of these, what he calls tetra seed. Tetra means 4, no? Mm-hmm. So the 4 seeds together, which when we put enough water on it, then we have 4 trees. And in the top, they will be all together. This is imagination,
Yes, that's
and the trees
that's
come
good.
One into the other. Yeah, great.
Like
So,
intertwined.
And she's very imaginative. It makes me want a plate of spaghetti.
okay.
All right. And you might give type in for Jill a link.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
you
do
are.
it here. This
Okay.
is
thank you.
the bit.ly link, bit.ly/wisdom gold, and then it's the number 1.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool.
And you
Yeah.
can subscribe for the webinar there.
It's free.
And when is this webinar?
It is Wednesday. It means tomorrow at this time, more or less. Yeah. Not tomorrow, in a week. Tomorrow in a week at this time, at 8 o'clock our time. We are in Europe, in Italy. Where are you?
Oh, I'm currently in California, Southern California.
Okay.
What part?
LA area.
Oh, you're in the LA. You're in Southern California.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Are you in LA?
Remember when they were talking about splitting California into 2 states?
No,
Northern California and Southern California?
No, I've never heard of that.
Well, it must have been before your time. When I was much younger, there was this whole talk. This is when Jerry Brown was governor the first time.
Yeah.
They call him Governor Moonbeam, and there was talk about splitting California. I lived in Northern California. I lived in Santa Cruz and all over the Bay Area and in San Francisco.
Yes.
I
Oh.
like San Francisco a lot. Beautiful.
So which half of the state is the Moonbeam half?
Have to be the northern half.
I would think so.
Why is it called Moonbeam, if you don't mind?
Oh, because it was La La Land. It was hippiedom. It was, flower power.
Hey,
Yeah,
Selassie.
Jerry Brown, who when he was governor, he drove a Chevy, and an older Chevy, and did not live in the governor's mansion.
Mm-hmm.
And he was involved with some people in the Zen community. I don't remember who it was exactly, but he was associated with this subculture of the human potential movement. And he was considered to be a little bit flaky, although there was no evidence for it. And even currently, he's doing, as far as I can tell, a very good job. He took over from Governor Schwarzenegger, governor of California.
So I didn't catch your name. Okay, so I know Lawrence, and what are your
okay. I'm Heidi. We are in the Wisdom Factory, mainly on Google Plus. You will find us, and this is
Mark.
Heidi and Mark. Good to meet you.
Yeah, and we are doing shows on Google Plus, interviewing important people like Lawrence. We have done twice.
Jill.
Yeah. And At the moment, we are not doing regular shows in the morning. In the moment, we do only once in a time. The next one will be in October, in 16th. But then we will have again about 2 months of every week of shows, probably starting in the end of November.
Sure.
About relationships this time. And
okay.
we will see. And we need that too, your procedures, because we have so many old stuff which needs to be transformed.
So much old
so
stuff.
much old stuff. And what the webinar is about, it's about the release technique, which is on the bottom of all that, and which Lawrence calls the gold key release. And he will mainly teach that. And this is then the main tool to address all the other things, because if you go into something and you don't have a way to release what comes up, it's not very helpful. You
don't get too far. No.
Would you like to explain it a little bit better than me?
Yeah, sure. It's like having one foot on the accelerator, one foot on the brake, and steering the wrong direction.
That's all.
That's how our normal life is.
That's the usual way of life. And the key is take your foot off you have to take it both off the accelerator and the brake. Otherwise, your foot is heavy on the accelerator. You can go too hard.
Too fast.
Once you take your foot off the brake. So you've got to get control of your own sense of direction and your own intensity. When I was 38 years old or so, I recognized that I was a very intense personality, not like now, of course.
Look, he's fishing for compliments.
Oh, you're not so intense now, Lawrence. No, you're much better.
When I was in university, I was 36 years old among the 18 to 21-year-olds, and I decided I was going to disarm some discomfort in others by going to the local T-shirt shop, and I had a red T-shirt made with white letters on it that said, "Too intense." This was my way of letting people know that I knew. I know. Well, when I went into training in somatic education in 1990, I wore that T-shirt in the training class. And when we completed the training class, we all had a celebratory picnic, and they burned that T-shirt.
Oh my gosh.
As one of my other co-students said, as a sign of our esteem of you, you were not wearing the shirt when we burned it.
Very considerate, yes.
But in my case, I had a huge mass of, some would call it karma, let's say difficult collections of personal traits, very difficult. And so one of the first things I had to do was to unload my own case. And I used a technology which much preceded the gold key release and required a good deal more preparation to have it work. It's called, it was from the Avatar course, and the procedure they call the creation handling procedure. Basically, it's a way of dissolving the grip of fixated memory and fixated attention. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing that enabled me to rechannel all my intensity in a rather more humorous and creative direction instead of just being massive. Mm. And the gold key release came out of all those years of personal cleanup in my own case. And the procedure is much easier to do and much quicker to do, and requires far less preparation than what I learned in the Avatar course. But it was my first exposure to that type of thing, that course was. People go through lives burdened by all manner of conditioning. What they should do, should not do, right. The way things are, the way things they think they are or believe they are, all the limitations of what you can and cannot do, should or should not do. And these are like the foot on the brake, stopping ourselves and being steered the wrong direction. So if you're going to be creative, it helps to be able to focus your attention long enough to capture something new and creative and to bring it into existence. But people are not taught that in our educational institutions.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, the educational institutions merely pile on more stuff to remember. And if you remember what it's like to cram for exams in university, there's a point at which nothing more will go in, right? And this is what people call overload or overwhelm, and it's the common state of existence for human beings in Western industrialized societies. So the presence of stress-related or stress-induced diseases, high blood pressure, headaches, back pain, heart disease, those are the quick, easy ones to remember. There's even speculation that cancer comes from that, from the stress induced on this physiology. And I think there's some merit to the argument. I think cancer is largely a disease of cells trying to readapt to unacceptably stressful situations. And unfortunately, they can't find the way to readapt that actually handles the stress. So they just disadapt from their old pattern, and they become these cells, undifferentiated cells, which are identical to embryonic cells. But embryonic cells have a template into which to adapt to become certain kinds of tissues, whereas people under massive stress don't have a place that they can go to, a template for readaptation. So I think the cells remain undifferentiated and then just keep on multiplying. And I think that's what cancer is. It's a disease of chronic irritation.
It can
That
be.
was an aside.
It can be. It might not be. You know, there were also highly spiritually realized people who died of cancer. So
yeah, Ramana Maharshi died of
for
sarcoma.
instance. Yeah.
But you don't, but you know, he was a mess anyway. If you watched his early years, what he looked like when he stood, and you look at his later years, he stood like a banana. He was curved to the right. I think from spending all those years reclining on his tucket and, you know, with it against the wall. So he was always stressing that left side of his. So
interesting.
And same thing with Nityananda. That guy was a wreck toward the end of his life. You watch him walk, he was walking like a cripple. So to be spiritually realized is no guarantee that one is not loaded with unconscious stress patterns.
Absolutely.
State realization is a higher...
Look at me, for example.
Yeah, he's always walking around like this.
Look at me. Yes. That's because I'm so spiritual. Yeah,
that's it.
You know, one of the things that that's why this topic seems really good to me and it really resonates with me is because I identify with the rest of the crowd that's on Blab and whoever's on social media, and just the fear of missing out kind of thing. And so I've come to the point where it's like, you know, things are going to keep going on. Newer topics are going to come up, and everything is always going to be interesting to me. And I don't have to, like, I would be reminded that, you know what, the busyness is not going to make my life better, really. Or if I accumulate more information in my brain, that it's not going to make me like a whole better person. Because I don't know, maybe, and I'm just speaking out loud. Okay, I'm trying to, think out loud, because sometimes when I gather my thoughts, I'm not. It takes me a while, so I apologize first of all. And then so to me, once I've realized that, and I'm still continually realizing it, that, you know, busyness is getting me nowhere really, that I try to just pull away from it and then just maybe play music or rest my mind, and I try to just stay quiet, and just sometimes meditation, I guess, helps too. And just refocus, and then sometimes I just had my birthday last month, and at times this would remind me too that you know, I'm not guaranteed my life to be forever. Like I would have an expiration date, and I would have to live with intention, even though, you know, everything that I do or everything that I get into sometimes is, you know, good and beneficial, but I do also need to have that balance where I need to have that intention, because, you know, and I want to really find out what my purpose is. Like, what is my whole point in being here, you know? Like, what do I provide? I mean, I'm the oldest of 3 other siblings. You know, maybe to care for them and, you know, give them advice and stuff. And I'm a daughter to 2 parents, and so maybe I need to give them care too, you know, like those kinds of things. And it's like, it blows my mind because there's so much to be done. And yet I find myself like being drawn with, you know, social media all the time. And it's just like, you know, I want to know really what my purpose is. It is stressful. And just finding that place of balance and rest, and just staying in that place of rest, I think anchors me back to like my core, I guess. So I don't know if I'm making any sense.
Yeah. You got to clear the space for any new insight to emerge.
It's a very common story, Jill.
Yeah. But what I'm feeling while you are talking, you are at the moment in such a space. You know,
like being quiet, you mean, like having that,
and being concentrated on what you are saying, on what we are listening, and so that you are not distracted. You are here with your attention. At least I feel that.
Okay. I guess it's good to ask other people how they perceive or see me, because sometimes I don't, like, I can't tell.
Yeah,
you can't trust that either, because perceptions are heavily biased by their own distortions, their own biases.
That's true.
So you'll get other people's perceptions, but it's not necessarily more accurate than
not to believe everything. But when in 100 people, 90 say one thing and 10 say the other, then probably the 90 are a little bit more probable that this might be the right direction than the 10.
That's always worth looking at. But remember that the consensus at one point was that the earth is flat.
Yeah, that's
you
true.
cannot go, but even if the majority doesn't mean they're right, it may mean it's worth looking at. But they may not be correct. They may all be wrong, and the 10 might be right. You have to find that out for yourself.
That's good to know. Yeah.
And without falling into stress that you have to find it out until tomorrow, you know.
By tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because I feel the older I get that life is a journey which gives you more clarity, but you never know. Let's say in a different way, the more you know that you don't. That you don't know everything, you know, and that you cannot know. But I feel the tendency to do this or to be this, you know, this, yes. And then you go ever more in this direction. But 100%, as Lauren said, maybe not. Maybe we find it out only in the last moment of our lives, you know. But the thing is, enjoy the life as it is and see to do something which we often have to do, which we don't want to do. No, I think what you said, Lawrence, at school they teach you stuff which many people wouldn't like to do, but they would like to do what they envision for themselves, an interesting thing, you know, and things like that.
I think what Heidi said is central. Your integrity. Do not violate your integrity. Enhance it. Even if it goes against what others say, build your integrity. Don't dissolve it because other people say something.
That's good. That I have to write that down.
I will refrain from offering any advice.
Yeah, here is a new person, AC Lotman. And would you like to come in? If you are interested in that, and you said you are, come in and talk with us about that. You wanted to say something?
No, I just said it.
Oh, I missed it.
Yes, it was brilliant.
Oh, gosh.
Okay.
How can I miss the moment of brilliance?
Listen to
You
the
often
replay.
do. It happens. That he's calling my bluff, I think. Yes.
This is also imagination. You can bluff when you put your imagination in what you want to be, and you create a false persona. You can do that too. But I don't think that's what you meant when you said you want to find your purpose. This is something more more, how to say, more profound, something more.
Well, I want to say something to Jill about the way Lawrence's teachings come out. They absolutely amaze me. At first, I just laughed and giggled because they were not what I expected from a procedure. All right. I expected the procedure to be serious and go this direction, logically follow, blah, blah, blah. Follow a particular course. And as in the first few times that I participated in procedures with Lawrence, they just confused my mind terribly because I could not follow simple directions. They are very simple directions. I had to just simply experience what was happening to me rather than trying to put it into pre-existing slots. And by taking things out of their usual slots, by putting them in different relationship to one another, the thing that I brought into the problem, the concern, that I had coming into the procedure just got lost. I could not think of it in the same way again. I couldn't feel it in the same way again. And I was back to a place where I could consider it in a clear perspective without all the baggage that I had been trailing along with me. And this happens in a matter of minutes. So
yeah, the only thing we should do that the whole day, We have
do his procedures all day?
Yeah, because there happen so many things where we end up in the same stuff, Lately, we had a little pizza. Yesterday, was it, or Saturday? We went to Terni, had an aperitivo, a prosecco, and a little pizza. And I took mine. He had one, such a little thing, And I said, what did I say? Oh, this is a lot of white flour. Yeah. Okay. And then nothing. After a while, I look, and this piece was gone.
I thought you didn't want white flour, so I just presumed.
So just the combination of thoughts, instead of asking, shall I finish it or something, these automatic reactions we have,
Yeah.
They are so absurd often, but then we laughed, but often we don't even realize that we are stuck in these things, and then we wonder why the other person is angry, doesn't talk with you anymore.
You don't even realize it. Yeah, that's funny.
Oh dear. Mr. Wonderful is here again. Thank you that you are here.
Mr.
Come in,
Wonderful?
hop in. We have the first seat free. Hello.
Okay.
Hi. I like what you said, Mark, about trying to follow procedures, and they're in our mind sometimes they're simple, but sometimes they can be like 10,000 procedures or 10,000 steps, and sometimes because we want to try to follow it because we don't want to make mistakes, or we don't want to we want to make sure that it works out well for us, that we put on this stress, and it's not necessary. So a lot of times, even if I would want to try and, go that direction myself, like I don't know if it's my subconscious or what, but it would just shy away from that, and I would just be drawn more on the simple things, on the more, I don't know, more common things that other people would be more accustomed to do, or just easier, because I think it should be simple, right? Like, life shouldn't be so hard, and we put just so much stress on ourselves, and so much, science behind things, which I'm not saying that I'm against science. I think science is very interesting and very necessary in understanding our world, but in our daily life, I feel like the more simple things are, and the more relaxed we get, then it's just easier to live, and then you just smile more, and enjoy things more, and taste food better, because you're like being in the moment, and enjoying the company you're in, being in the moment.
This, what you say reminds me very much when I went to university, and I already in school, but at university even much worse. I figured out that often men, I have it with men in university, they, for to say the egg is oval, they say about 300 sentences around with many foreign words, so that it seems as if it is scientific and, elaborate and learned and everything.
Ovoid, not oval.
I don't know the word. Anyway, instead of saying, the circle is round, they say the geometrical figure,
which from the same point,
something
directions.
like this, And what I see, what is out just now, also in terms of courses, or in terms of, I did also a course for where they taught us how to create courses out of nothing, which I don't like. But it's exactly the same thing. People try to make it complicated, so it seems to be something special, something very important, But when it boils down, at the end, it's nothing else that the neighbor has done a day before, sort of, So the simplicity is good, but it doesn't sell so well. So... by the way, in university, there was then some women, not many women then, and they did a talk, and they used the simple words, just said what it was, and the men were smiling.
Oh, the girls.
Yeah. I was so angry, and I was really happy to go away from university. I didn't like this, really not. Why do you need to make it so complicated? And that's, for instance, we are both, all three of us, Lawrence and we are students of Ken Wilber, who is an integral philosopher who has created the integral theory. And that, for me, was the first philosophical texts I could read and had a sort of feeling that I understand them. Maybe I didn't understand every word, but there was something which I felt, and I thought, okay. And so now I sort of understand the text, But in the first moment, I thought, this is different, because there is a different language. And before philosophy, I tried hard to get it in. I'm interested in the topics, but to read these texts, oh God. No,
It's very difficult to understand philosophy from a text written by somebody who didn't understand the philosophy.
So he didn't understand it when he wrote it?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Freud was very clear, and he never used the word ego. The word ego came from a translator who did what Heidi was saying, trying to dress it up and make it fancy by using Latin.
Oh, wow.
And Latin, ego means I. Nothing more.
I. And id means it.
Very
It's just
simple.
Pronoun.
Yeah. And the scholars and the academics made it impenetrable. But don't worry, if you don't follow the teachings, it's probably what the writer, him or herself, didn't understand it. And they were upchucking the new textbook the way students do term papers by regurgitating as best they could what they understood to whatever degree they understood it. With footnotes.
Yes.
Footnotes are just a way of saying, if you don't understand me, go to the original text again from the person who wrote it to begin with.
Yeah. Anyway.
That's interesting.
Yeah, we are completely away from our imagination, create our future topic. We have imagined our future by creating something new, something different.
Was that our intention?
No, but my intention is to go and eat something now.
There's a
because
thought.
it's
Do you
Okay.
guys know each other from that class, from that course? Is that how you know each other, Heidi, Mark, and
Well, we met talking about some of these.
we too.
Yeah.
We met in Facebook talking about these
Ken
topics
Wilber,
which we
etc.
find. Ken Wilber, our beloved philosopher, Ken Wilber. We talked about that. And with Lawrence, we did a course from Ken Wilber together in about a year ago. No?
It was based on his stuff.
We were in a group of people, Mark and I, who were discussing matters related to the course Ken Wilber organized. And somewhere along the line, I let it slip that I have developed this little bitty process, and Mark got interested enough for us.
I slipped and got interested in it. Yeah.
All right.
And then afterwards we invited him in our show, the Wisdom Factory show, and we did it twice. And we are so excited about that. And so we want to do what we can to make it public because it has a big, big potential. And as Lawrence says, in creating peace on earth, because we are working on not on the surface,
Personal level.
not on the surface,
Not
also
simply.
on the personal
Yes,
level,
also personal.
but not on the surface. It is much more
deeper?
deeper. Yeah, it's
grander.
it's using words, but it goes somewhere else. It's, the experience is, at least my experience, that things change. And then you think, oh, it has changed.
Yes.
How is it? Because you feel something after having done the process. But after that, you say, oh, yeah, it's done, and you don't think about it. And then some day later, you think, oh, I had that problem. Where is it gone?
It's a little like homeopathy. You know?
Yeah.
You just take this thing and nothing happens. And then you realize that
something
it went away.
happens.
Well, it was a really nice treat and pleasure to meet all you three, and it was nice having, being here. I'm looking for. I added you both.
Yeah.
And I look forward to hearing from you guys again. And this
Good.
has been a great topic.
Good.
I know you said your intention was to eat, so
Yeah.
we're not holding you back from that intention, and I need to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have
right.
dinner now. Supper, is it?
Supper.
9:00 in the evening. So,
Okay.
It was really nice that you jumped in because, it is so much nicer to talk with somebody than read. Oh, what is it?
That tiny little print. Yeah. Right.
Nice
All
to
right.
meet you
Nice
and
to
hope
meet
to
you,
see you
Jill.
again.
Hope we meet again.
Nice to meet you too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bye, Lauren.
Bye-bye.